Hey there, how y'all doing today? Data on Trail here, coming to you from the snowy tundra of northern Illinois with my list of 12 reasons why men over 50 should hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025. Now, a lot of these 12 reasons could apply to people other than men over 50, I understand that, but I'm making this video specifically toward my peer group because I think, taken as a whole, you'll see by the end of this why I think old farts, I'll call us, should hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025. I think especially if you stick around for reason number 12, you'll see how it all ties together, and I hope you'll stay with me that long. So here we go. So my first reason why I think old farts like us should hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025 is it's good for our general physical health. It's good exercise. It's better and more interesting than walking around our neighborhoods or around a mall. It's less physical stressful than running is. And I know that because I came back to hiking after I, 3 or 4 years ago, started running after I watched a Couch to 5K set of videos, and I ran a couple of 5Ks and realized that was particularly hard on my 64-year-old knees and ankles and back. So hiking is more strenuous than just walking around the mall or the neighborhood, but less strenuous than running 5Ks was, I found. So my second reason for saying that old farts should hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025 is because it can help to rebuild your body. At least, and this has been my experience. It strengthens muscles and joints. It improves breathing and circulation. It helps improve your balance and hand-eye coordination. And, at least in my case, you can lose some weight fast. When I hit the trail on a long hike, I lose a pound a day until I get myself in trail shape. And since I took up backpacking and hiking as a hobby, I've dropped about 20 pounds. And when I hit the trail again, I'll probably drop another 10. So I'm not down at goal weight yet. I'm still, 64 and a little bit heavy, but I'm not nearly as heavy as I was 3 years ago when I started this journey, and I'm in much better shape overall. So that brings me to my third reason why I say old farts should hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025. And that is, it's cheap and it's pretty easy to get started on as a hobby. You already know how to walk. You probably already own some kind of walking shoes or workout shoes or something. And it's likely that there's a park or a trail or a forest preserve somewhere near you. So the ramp up time to get started backpacking and hiking is virtually zero, and the cost is equally low. So my sixth reason for saying that old farts should hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025 is because old dudes need hobbies. We do. We all know it. We talk about it among ourselves. Our families talk about it. Our wives, our lovers, our kids, our nieces, our nephews, everyone we know talks to old farts about how we all ought to get a hobby. So, and that makes sense, right? Many of us have worked hard for most of our lives. We haven't had a lot of time for ourselves for hobbies at this point, between raising families and having careers and jobs and paying bills. But as we get near retirement or into retirement, as I have, we might find that we get bored. Many of our friends have often been connected to our work or our professional lives, and that's coming to an end now, and so are some of those relationships. Admittedly, making new friends when you're an old fart is not fun. It's not an easy thing to do, and a lot of us don't really like it. And many of us, frankly, among my friends at least, just give up and become grumpy old men. So this was starting to happen to me about 3 or 4 years ago when my next door neighbor and I were standing out talking in the yard, and I was complaining about kids these days or some stupid crap like that. And my friend said, "Well, look at you. You're becoming a grumpy old man just like I am, and it's about time. I'm glad to see it." Well, I don't know about you, but I didn't want to hear that. I was not going to have that be the outcome. Having worked as hard as I had for the last 40 years, like I'm sure many of you have, I refuse to just sit around for the next 40 years and become some kind of a weird cliche of a grumpy old man. I've worked too hard, and life is too short for me to spend the next 30 years just being a grumpy old man. So reason number 5 for me saying that old farts should hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025 is that it's good for our mental health and our self-esteem. So, like always in life, learning new stuff, learning how to work new gear, learning how to build things, or acquiring other kinds of new skills helps build our self-confidence now when we're older, just like it did when we were younger. Learning about backpacking has been good for my cognitive well-being, helps to keep my brain active and healthy, and it's really the same process for learning all the other things I've learned at different points in my life, except this time I'm not learning something because I have to, or I need a career, or I need a job, or somebody's making me. I get to learn about backpacking and hiking because, frankly, I like it. It's fun, it's challenging, it's really rigorous, and it's a neat set of skills to have begun to build. So my reason number 6 of 12 for saying that old farts should hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025 is all of the new toys. That's right, fellas. You get to buy a whole new set of toys. And there are lots of really cool gear that are available now. I mean, this stuff is nothing like the kind of things that many of us might have used in camping and hiking and backpacking 20 or 30 years ago. It's lighter weight. It's more specialized to the particular kind of hike we're going to do. You have a lot more choices to fit your body type, or what kind of condition you're in and things like that. You can have a pack that weighs 30 or 40 pounds if you can carry that. You can have a pack that weighs 10 or 15 if you want to go ultra light. The choice is yours. It also all the gear doesn't have to be that expensive if you don't want it to. I've seen people build entire hiking kits from scratch at things they buy at places like Walmart and Target. In my case, I had an old hobby car that I had inherited from my father that I sold, and I had yet to spend the money I gained selling that one old car on all of the hiking kit that I bought so far. So item number 7 is my 7th reason out of 12 why I say old farts should hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025, is that there is lots of planning and spreadsheets to be worked on. And that's just because each trail, whether it's short or long, will require a fair amount of planning in order to have that adventure be successful. And so for me at least, planning a trip like this means spreadsheets and lists and strategizing and things like that. And that's all just more fun for me. Whether it's picking out which trail I'm going to hike, or selecting and organizing gear for that trip because it can vary from one trip to another, or planning out the logistics of how to get to the trail, or how to get up the trail, or how long it's going to take to hike the trail, or strategies for resupplying myself along the way as I hike with food and basic essentials. Every bit of that is fun for me. So it's a really interesting challenge, and my organizational skills seem to fit the task really well. So item number 8 on my list of reasons why old farts should hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025 is meeting new people. I know, meeting new people is not a grumpy old fart's favorite thing to do, and it's not something that many of us are very good at. But there are tons of new people that you can meet on a trail, and honestly, most of them are pretty cool, I've found. And like me, like many of you, they're all out there by choice. Nobody puts a gun to your head and tells you to go hike the Appalachian Trail. So since people are all there willingly for their own reasons, it's pretty easy enough to meet some folks who you'll get along with pretty well. In fact, I've gotten along with most people I've met. Also, occasionally there's somebody who's kind of a jerk, but those folks are actually pretty easy to avoid, because you run into somebody who's a jerk, or who really maybe you just don't get along with, they're easy enough to avoid because you just keep hiking. It's a long trail. It's pretty easy to lose someone or to let them lose you on a 2,200 mile hiking trail. It's also been interesting to me that a large chunk of the hikers on the trail these days are men in our age range. I mean, I don't know, a third or half the people who hike the trail are men over 50. In fact, I would dare say that on the Appalachian Trail in particular, old farts rule the trail. So my 9th reason out of 12 for saying that old farts should hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025 are that you get to have a whole new identity. So when you start hiking a long trail, you'll be offered a trail name or 2 or 3 by the people that you're hiking around when you first get started. A trail name is a pseudonym, like a fake name you use only on when you're hiking on trail. So you can pick one of those that people think fits you, like mine is Data, because I spend a lot of time focusing on planning and facts and stuff like that. Or you can pick one for yourself if you think that that works better for you. You can even pick it before you go to trail if you want. But regardless of which trail name you pick, the you who hikes the trail can have as much to do or as little to do with the you in the real world as you want it to. Some people's identities on trail and their trail name and the real world identities are shared pretty widely here on the internet and when they go to hostels and everywhere else. Other people like me, you might have noticed viewing this channel, might notice that I don't share my face or my identity on this channel, and I don't share my real name or specifics about exactly where I live in Northern Illinois or anything like that. That's because I like that privacy and I like that separation between my hiking identity in life and the real world I come back to whenever I'm done hiking a trail. You don't have to do it that way, but it certainly is one of those things about that trail identity that you get to adopt in whatever way you want, whatever suits you. For myself, I actually really love when I get to trail and I get to kind of shed my adult, controlled, professional demeanor, and I get to revert to my natural hiker identity of Data, and I get, grimy and a regular person without all of the history that I carry around with me otherwise, and I'm just a guy hiking a trail. I find it very, very refreshing. So reason number 10 out of 12 for why I say old farts should hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025 is that chicks dig hikers. Seriously. I mean, so it's not like you're becoming a cowboy or a biker or something. But hiking and backcountry backpacking is a seriously, legitimately rugged hobby. You will be tested. It will be hard. But if you're like me, you're not going out on the trail looking for romance. I mean, I've been blessed to know my Mrs. Data now going on 30 years, and we've been canoodling all that time and get along really well. But me struggling up and down those blasted mountains day after day, carrying my whole world on my back in a 30-pound backpack, has been one of the most exhausting and exhilarating things that I have done in years. And my lady, she notices. And I'll just leave it at that. So reason number 11 of 12 why I say old farts should hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025 is that it helps you to learn to make better life choices. Outside of backpacking, the backpacking hobby has helped to get me away from the television set. So I'm not just sitting around watching sporting events or some dumb movie or some reruns of something that I used to like. It also got me off of most of the social media. With the exception of the things that I do on YouTube, I'm not at my computer nearly as much as I used to be. And it also has led me to read a lot more books. Now, granted, the books are almost all about hiking or backpacking or somebody else's hike, but it's still part of the learning process, and the reading, I think, is better for me than the time I had been spending years ago just staring at the computer screen or watching some dumb crap on television. And also, when I'm off the trail, backpacking as a hobby has led me to think more about my diet and exercise, even unrelated to hiking. So I'm just generally more conscious about, what I'm eating and how much activity I'm getting, and I'm a much healthier physically and psychologically person now than I was 4 years ago when I first started trying to get more exercise and when I started hiking. So now we come down to my 12th and final reason why I say old farts should hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025. And hopefully this one will kind of summarize why I think this list, taken as a whole, applies to men over 50 specifically, and why they should hike the Appalachian Trail in 2025. Many of the reasons up to this point have been about how the trail benefits ourselves, physically, personally, socially, psychologically. Reason number 12 is that it is the 100th anniversary of the Appalachian Trail Conservancy this year. Think about that. This trail has been around for a century this year. The Appalachian Trail Conservancy is the organization that, at its founding, began the process of figuring out where the trail should go, how to fund it, how to build it, who should build it, how it should be organized. And through the last 100 years, what has emerged is a nonprofit organization in the ATC that works to coordinate the maintenance, upkeep, and improvement of the Appalachian Trail through all 14 states, coordinating between federal agencies, state agencies, and nonprofit organizations, and most importantly, volunteer trail clubs all up and down the trail, several of them in most states. And that's really who has built this trail, right? Volunteer trail organizations, our fellow Americans, just regular people who for a century have gotten together in their communities and come out and built this trail for all of us to use and share. Now, the trail's been around for 100 years, and it was the first of the Great American Long Trails. It is a foot travel only trail. No vehicles, bikes, or pack animals are allowed on it. It is still the longest footpath only travel in the world. And it's still mostly free to hike, and you don't need a permit for most of it. There are some exceptions. You need a permit to camp in the Smokies or in the Shenandoah National Park. There are some permits for some of the state parks like Baxter Park up in Maine when you finish up and go to Summit Katahdin. But for the most part, anyone in America can go walk this trail anytime they want. They don't have to fill out a form. They don't need a pass. They don't have to pay anything. It is a great American tradition. I think it's one of the best living examples of one of those American ideas that's come to life. And for better or worse, this year, in its 100th anniversary, and the year after Hurricane Helene devastated several hundred miles of the trail in North Carolina and Tennessee and Virginia, the Appalachian Trail itself and the small communities along it could really use our help. Now, these trail clubs are busy rebuilding the trail. They have been all winter, and they'll be working on it this spring as we start hiking it. But for my part, I'm going to go hit this trail for all of the reasons I've stated above, and for this 12th reason, so that I can get the exercise and have the enjoyment that I want out of this and the challenges, but also so that I can see for myself how good or bad a shape the trail is in, so that I can infuse a little bit of cash into some of these economies that need it, maybe even so that I can stop for a couple of days here and there and help some trail club out where they're doing some maintenance on part of it. The Appalachian Trail is a truly phenomenal American legacy. And I want to do my part this year, and I would encourage each of you to see if you can do a little something to help maintain this great American tradition. And so come hike the Appalachian Trail with me. You can hike part of it, you can hike all of it. But 2025 would be the year for old farts to come hike the Appalachian Trail. And with that, I'll just end as usual by wishing each of you happy trails.